Hey, everybody. How are you? Good morning. Boy, we have some chaotic things going on, particularly the weather these days. And this is why more than ever, we have to connect to our insides and build our lives from the inside out, because everything from pandemic to weather is all pushing us to the inside. David, thanks for joining us again this morning.
Good morning, everybody. And so, when you talk about getting pushed to the inside, really what we're talking about is moving into a place of power within ourselves, to where we are generating a focus and a connection with our heart and our soul, rather than being reactive. And, anytime we're reactive, we're in our minds and we're usually in fear.
Yep.
And the only way that we're going to become healthy and realigned in our consciousness is if we're moving out of our creativity, moving out of our heart, rather than that fear space. So there's chaos constantly, one thing after another that creates disruption,
Right.
in the world right now, and we always have to readjust. Right? It's like.
Right.
Okay, this is the latest thing, and we got to readjust to whatever it is.
Right.
And so part of breaking through is to move beyond that place where we're so reactionary. Because when we're reactionary, also we're being molded. We're being molded by life circumstances. We're being molded by perhaps our fear, other people's reactions, all of that. And being pummeled like that gets exhausting, so we want that energy within us. Where do we find the resources within us to carry on, not just in survival mode, but hopefully looking at the bigger picture of all of it and going, okay, what could I do with this, and how can I rearrange my life in a way that I can thrive?
Exactly. Because it's either you're going to expand or you're going to contract.
Right.
Like, there seems to be like no in between right now. It's like the energy is so powerful that it's going to shove you one way or the other, depending on what you're actually choosing to tap into, because that is the key. Like, we are choosing to either tap into our old patterns, or we're choosing to tap into the new expansive place that we've always dreamed of, that we've always wanted to get to. But we have to really let go of those old belief systems and those old patterns to be able to do that. And I got to tell you, those old patterns and belief systems, for me at least, have been coming up with a vengeance lately. It's like, here they are, and it's very interesting to watch this energy, because I've really gotten to a place of the observer, but even my meditations have been harder these days. Like, I can't get into a deep meditation for whatever reason. My nervous system is too hijacked
Yeah.
to be able to get deep. I still sit there. I still, try to get back in and back down in, but it's really, really interesting that the energy is that chaotic right now.
Right. So, ultimately, and I've said this numerous times, is that we are going through a tremendous shift and a birthing into a whole new level of our being, opening our souls, opening our hearts, opening ourselves to much higher levels of connection. And so a lot of the seeming chaos that's going on now is like stripping away, clearing away a lot of things that are irrelevant, that really have it's like clearing clutter out of our homes. It's like, let's just get all this garbage out, and so that we can run in a much more clear and efficient way. And ultimately what this is doing is it's challenging us. It's calling us to our very core to see what we're made of. And, are we going to crumble and freak out in fear, or are we going to go into another level of ourselves where we may have more personal resources than we have ever known possible? And you know, when I say that strength, you know, you hear about these stories where, you know, a mother lifts the car to get her kid out from underneath or something like that. Just these heroic tasks of where did that energy come from? Where did that, and we have that within us, but perhaps it's been untapped because of, you know, we've lived in a certain way, and now we're being called to the very core of our being, to our very essence, you know. And oftentimes when we're doing these energy things, particularly with the women, but you know, when we go into the heart, I'll say, you know, not only go into your to love your children, but go into mama bear, go into that level. And I think right now, where women are literally walking into their power, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a reason,
Mama Bear.
yeah, a reservoir of power that may be virtually untapped. That it doesn't have to be extreme, something extreme. You can just start to learn to cultivate that energy that's within you,
Right.
and bring it forward, you
Right.
know, and use it in ways that are practical, in ways of. So the other thing I wanted to say was that I think we're also at a point of tremendous breakthrough. It's either breakthrough or breakdown kind of a thing. And so when we are personally challenged, you know, sometimes we're surprised of what we're made of when we have those challenges, and all of a sudden we're called to the fore, and we're able to do things and handle things and move through things in ways that we never thought possible. When that happens, you go, wow, you know,
Right.
limited concept of me just changed.
That is so true, because we do have these underlying limiting beliefs that really, they're almost like to where they pin us down,
Mhm.
you know, and they pin us down to not be able to soar and get in more alignment with what our souls came here to do.
Mhm.
Like, I have a lot of people who come to me, you know, because obviously I'm the money chick. You know, they come to me and they're like, Jewel, I don't know what it is. Like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something different, but I don't really know exactly what that other thing is. And I've always simplified it to the fact that, you know, what's going to make you giggle? You know, our bodies are very, very smart. The body intelligence, and I talk about this in my books, you know, that your body tells you the answer. The problem is we're not listening to our bodies. And like, if you get anxiety about something, it's not the right answer. If you get depressed about something, it's not the right answer. But if it kind of makes you giggle and gives you that shit ass grin on your face where you're like, you know, like you feel like a kid again, that is in alignment with your soul. And you don't need to know like how or why, or, you know, that's where the monkey mind just takes over. And then you start reasoning, especially us ladies, like, holy Jesus, we can like contemplate stuff like nobody's business. And that's not good. You just need to know it makes you giggle. And that's the right next step. And you don't need to know the how, because the how always shows up. And I know that's super counterintuitive to the fact that, you know, I have an MBA, I am highly educated. And you know what? My monkey mind has not served me well through the years, through all of my education, because it's actually gotten in my way, because I would reason it out and what's the best thing to do, and I got out of my body, in terms of my body is always telling me the right answers. You know, I had an experience the other night where I was in a situation and my solar plexus were like, I felt like I was going to throw up. And I was like, why am I here if I feel like I'm about to throw up right now? It's like, I don't belong here. I need to just go, because that's going to make me giggle. And I didn't know what that meant and what that was all about. I just knew I needed to go. And it's like our bodies certainly are screaming at us what these answers are, but so often we're not listening to them. And when we go inside, then you can reduce the chaos of what's going on collectively around us. And that's what's important. You know?
Right. Yeah. You know, I really want to just state for the record, I think that ultimately what's happening here is we're going through a metamorphosis into a much more expanded level of ourselves. We're going to become much more conscious, much more heartfelt, very connected with the earth rather than disconnected with it. So
Right.
all of this that we're being challenged with right now are really wake-up calls for us to expand into levels of ourselves that have been dormant, that have been that, you know, we're now being called to really go into the core of ourselves and do a lot of truth telling.
Right.
The telling, you know, it's like, what's my truth? And forget all this other stuff that I do. You know, shove all that aside. You know, what's the bottom line? What's the truth?
Right.
And each one of us has that answer for our own selves. You know,
We
it's like,
do.
um, and and so a lot of the thoughts, the emotions, a lot of stuff that we picked up along the way is really stuff that we adapted to. You know, we picked it up from our family, from our teachers, from, you know, relationships, whatever. And, you know, and it's just time to dump a lot of that because
Oh,
one, it doesn't work. Second of all, you know, it's like we don't have time or space for it, you know, so
right.
ultimately it's just getting into a process of clarity
Mm,
and dumping the extraneous stuff that we've picked up and getting into our core. So we're being called energetically to come to a level of truth and knowing within ourselves. And
right.
nobody can answer that for us except each of us individually.
And anyone who's if you're trying to get advice from outside of yourself, that is just going to create more suffering and more chaos and more drama. So stop doing that, ladies and gentlemen. It is not worth it. Like we do that because we're, not sure of ourselves inside often, but we really just need to connect to our inner selves because we do have that knowing. If you think about it, it's like the things that, like maybe in the past what you've done is you went drinking or you smoked or you're a workaholic or you would call 10 different girlfriends on the telephone to distract yourself from actually feeling your feelings and actually feeling what your body is actually telling you is the answer. So, the pandemic has been beautiful for the fact that it's forced us all to actually sit in with ourselves indoors, not, you know, distracting ourselves with the outside world. Like we've been really forced to go inside. So, we are really at a precipice of a breakthrough on so many individual levels. And so I just would encourage each and every one of you to just keep digging down deep and being able to sit with the next layer, because remember, it's like peeling an onion. You just got to peel it off one layer at a time, and then you get to the core of who you really truly are. And this is why, David, I love this energy work with you, because often, my brain will get hijacked, and I love doing this energy work with David because of the fact that it helps to get me out of my mind and actually align me into my body in these unprecedented times. I mean, I did a one-on-one session with David yesterday. Why? Because I wasn't sleeping and I knew I needed to move through some limiting stuff that was going on inside myself. And then I had a great day yesterday. I went sledding with my kids and I was like a kid again going down these hills, right? Because I was able to create the space and not be stuck in like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And how am I going to do that? And how am I going to do that? Like all the stuff that just keeps jamming up our brains. So why don't we get people to, let's dump them in. Let's get them into the energy right now. How about we just jump right in?
All right. Okay.
Sounds good. And last week someone had asked, why do you do the dragons and when you send us into the energetic field, like and I would love for you to, yeah. Tim says the mama dragons, the dream weavers, the pointed stars. Can you just explain that as we're going through that today so they can kind of align with the why behind that? That's Tim's monkey mind going on there, Mr. Tim. You
Sure.
want to know the reasons why? Love you dearly.
Well, I'll explain a little bit about my journey so it makes some sense that, I would say I basically had 3 different lives. In the first life, I was a very conventional life. I was a designer. I was very involved in the business world. And then but I always had an interest in metaphysics. The beginning of a second part of my journey was meeting shaman Miguel Ruiz, and him telling me that I'd been a shaman in other lifetimes and I'd be a very gifted shaman this lifetime. And so that was a journey into energy. And when I talk about that, so, for years I worked with a designer and I worked with homes, I was always working with sets of plans and everything like that. And so, on one level, we see things in terms of them being solid. So when Miguel started training me, we would go to Mexico to the Teotihuacan, to the pyramids, and he would go, okay, I want you to see that pyramid. It's solid rock, right? Yeah. Now I want you to go into your mind, and I want you to go to a place where you can see that as energy. So on another level, we know it's atomic structure. And if we were looking through an ionic microscope at that pyramid, we would see the atoms were moving. And so the challenge then was, I was very versed at seeing things in terms of form, but now it was like being challenged to see the world in terms of energy. And eventually that led me to moving to Sedona. And at that time, I'd given up my design business. I pretty much thought I was retiring. And so the other thing that had happened was that I started working with crystals. And crystals, what I noticed, somebody handed me a crystal for my birthday. And before that, it was just a rock. And once I had it in my hand, all of a sudden I felt a tremendous force of energy going up my hand and then eventually through my body. And I was like, wow, what's this? I've never felt this before. So that was the beginning of my journey with crystals. And so I was at home in Sedona, sitting with my crystals, just trying to meditate, kind of connect in one day. And I was getting to where I could bring more and more energy and power through my body and through my consciousness with the crystals. And I kept hearing in the back of my mind this voice, where there's dragons, there's mountains. And it was like, I was trying to meditate. It actually got very annoying. And I was like, okay, stop it. Whatever this is, it's driving me crazy. And I hear this voice go, well, come out on your back patio and look at me. And so I went out my back patio, and we have this mountain called Thunder Mountain. And this internal voice was saying, I'm the dragon on the top of the mountain. Sure enough, there was the form of a dragon on the mountain. I looked at that mountain many times, but I'd never seen it in that way before. And also at that time, there's spires near that mountain, and I was seeing these golden spirals of light going down into the earth. And by this time, I become trained enough to where I could literally see my body as light and project that light into a spiral. And I went down into the mountain, and I was in this cavern with all these luminous eggs, and I'm like, where am I? What's this? And the mama dragon said, this is where I'm birthing the new humanity. So there were all these eggs, and I was like, okay. And then it went a step further, that I had a woman that came from, I don't know if she was Japanese or Chinese. I don't remember. It was quite a while ago, to work with me. And so as I was taking her around Sedona to power spots and everything, I decided to connect her with the dragon, the mama dragon, and also tell her about the going into the earth and the new humanity. And this woman just burst into tears. She's an older woman. And I was like, God, I hope I didn't do something that offended her or said something. She said, oh my God. She said, I have been writing books about dragons all my life. I'm one of the leading authorities in the world. And what you're telling me and what I'm experiencing is blowing my mind. So at that point, I went, okay, I guess this connection that I have with dragons, and particularly mama dragons, is real, you know? And so the great mystery, and you know, if we really look at today and everything that's going on, we are all on a journey now, a journey that is that we haven't taken before. And there's a lot of mystery in that. We don't know exactly where we're going or what we're doing. And so for me, I've always had a great curiosity. So the mystery was intriguing. And I learned how to connect with these mama dragons, female dragons. And it became more and more powerful for me. A number of years later, I was looking at a Mayan glyph that was done for me years before. And, you know, in these Mayan glyphs, they have different images and things. And it was like, it says there, you're a red Eastern dragon. And I'm like, oh my God, how could have I known about that and totally forgot about it? So that was just another confirmation. And if you notice, I'm wearing red. Red's my power color. When I want to really power up, I put some red on and I'm like, yes, I'm ready to go. You know, so, you know, I literally started walking into a world that I had that kept revealing itself to me. So the mama dragons are part of Mother Earth. They're part of the mother, part of the healing of the earth. So a lot of the transformation we're going through now, if you notice, the whole earth, the mother, is in a great transformation and shifting. If you look at the weather that we're having right now, if you're looking at the, you know, the earthquakes in Japan, if you're looking at all over the world, everything is shifting. And literally what that is that this earth, which is a living being, is literally coming alive and going, you people that live on me cannot be unconscious anymore. You have to wake up. You can't destroy me and you can't poison me, because if you're going to do that, then you're not going to be on the planet. So, you know, wake the F up and figure out what the hell's going on. And, you know, so that's part of what's happening now is it's like, and what that's calling us to do is go inside. We've been trapped in our minds. We've been trapped in mental consciousness, which is linear and sequential. But we also have the ability and the capacity to go into holographic or multidimensional levels of awareness and into extraordinary capacity to love, all which has been dormant. And now it's like, you know, it's like everything is fracturing and cracking and shells are opening. And it's like, it's like, and part of what's happening now is for each of us to go deep within ourselves and go, what's really true for me? What's really important for me? Not all the stuff that people told me is supposed to be important for me, but what is really true and important for me? And that's the beginning of going into the soul, into deeper levels of yourself, deeper consciousness. There's a whole mystery about you that, if you want, will start to let that shell crack and allow that to start to unfold and reveal itself to you. You know, people have been just trapped in a mental concept for a long time. I was there. It was great. I had my first kind of life as a designer was great, but boy, I wouldn't have missed the mystery and the shifting that went on after that. And literally it's like, and sometimes when we think our biggest defect can actually end up being our biggest blessing. So when I met Miguel, I was, you know, went to a group that he did, and I saw that he could really move energy. And that night I told him I wanted to take any trip or any, you know, class he was doing. It was like, sign me up. And he asked me to come talk to him the next day. And, you know, he was saying, you've been a shaman in other lifetimes. You're going to be a shaman this lifetime. I'm like, I didn't even know what a shaman was. And and I looked at him and I said, you don't understand. I have a ferocious temper. I am not a nice guy. And he just started laughing at me. And he's like, no, you've got a lot of power under the hood. You need to learn how to open your heart. So that temper that had been my biggest curse actually at that point became my biggest blessing, because it started me on a journey of awakening to my heart, you know. And I was like, well, how do you open your heart? And it's like, how do you turn that energy that's so ferocious into something loving, you know? And it's just energy, you know, it's just power under the hood. You know, I've said many times, Julie's heard it many times, a Ferrari doesn't care whether you ram it into a wall or take it on the Autobahn. It's power. It's a lot of power.
Right.
So I'm here to say that you probably have a lot of power within yourself, in your capacity to love. That is calling to break out and break loose. And sometimes when we're in these challenges that we're in, the pandemic and the, you know, all sorts of different things, we're forced into our core where we have to wake up, where we become more than we ever thought we could be, because we have to. We don't have another choice. You know, it's like no one's going to do it for us. And so anyway, that's why the mama dragons represent power. They represent the divine feminine. They represent Earth Mother and the creative. And I'm all about the divine feminine, all about Mother Earth. If we destroy her, we destroy everything, because it's like, you know, and this is why there's such a shift going on with the divine feminine. It's like, finally, women have to step into that level of power, and it's not easy for them. I work with a lot of them, and you know, walking away from the patriarchal things, sometimes walking out of marriages, walking out of a lot of different things, and going, no, I'm going to find my voice. I'm going to speak my truth, and to allow that to blossom is, you know, that takes a lot of courage. And it takes a lot of courage to walk out of, you know, a marriage that's seeming, you know, it's not good, it's not bad, but, you know, we could probably make it work. Your mom and dad made it work, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, to come to a point where you go, screw that. I'm not going to do that. I am going to wake up. No matter what it takes, that's what I'm going to do. Those are the kind of people that I'm actually interested in, is people that have that in them. I saw that in Julie when I met her. And yeah, I hope it's okay to say this, Julie, but
yeah, go for
it. About her getting a divorce, you know, I told her, your marriage isn't going to get any better. It's going to get worse. I think you have the capacity. I see you have the energy and the capacity within you to go through that and create a new life for yourself. I said, not everybody can do that, but I think you can. And so, you know, sometimes it comes, you know, it was like Miguel challenging me, and I challenging Julie in a way, and recognizing us. So what's really important is being recognized a lot of times. And once a person is recognized, then you're like, okay, you're kind of like outed, right? It's like somebody's recognizing the power in me. They're recognizing the truth in me. Now, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to take that information and go, yeah, whatever, move on. That's one choice. Or the other is to start repositioning my life and taking a journey of awakening and find out who I truly am. And that's a worthy journey. It's a journey worth taking, because you're going to come out of that journey empowered. You're going to come out of that journey knowing yourself in a way that few people know themselves. We've been so programmed in culture to be a certain way, to think a certain way. Everybody has to be the same. And to have the ability to break out of that, to crack that shell and go, what's really in me, and who am I really, you know? That is a life that's worth living. Well, I didn't know I was going to go on that, Julie.
That's okay. People are enjoying your wisdom as they're typing in here. So I think it's important for the stage to be set. And I think it's important for people to have an understanding, which is why I think it's every Tuesday, come back here because you're on your journey. And granted, there are lots of you that are watching this that we've never individually met, but the consistency and the regularity of coming back to this work and coming back to cracking your shell and cracking yourself open is so important, because you don't actually know the layers that are underneath. I didn't know when I actually sat on my bed that one day, go, oh my God, yeah, I don't think I want to do this with you anymore. And I said that to my husband. And I drove to work that day going, holy shit, I'm getting divorced. And this was a year and a half after I met David and he said those things to me. And it's been a journey ever since. It's been 3.5 years post divorce. And, you know, I've peeled that onion and it's been amazing. Like amazing, because we are the creators of our lives and we get to create anything that we want. And everything that you have up until this point is everything that you've created, regardless of circumstances. You've been part of that creation. And unless you decide you want to create something different, you know, I even wrote on a piece of paper over here that I have, I put, I create my life. And I put, what do I want to stop that I am creating? Because I questioned myself the other day going, what am I creating even right now that wasn't that big dream 3 years ago? You know, and because there's things that need to be shored up, because I've recreated some patterns that were the same. And it's like, no. Been there, done that. I don't need a different face and a different name to show up in my life, whether it's work or personal or whatever. I want the dream. I want the big dream. And you don't know where those layers are going to come from. So anywho, why don't we get them into the energy? Because I think that's why they're hanging out.
I just want to say one other thing real quickly, and I'll make it succinct. So when I had that ferocious temper, that whole thing was generated out of fear. For as much anger and rage as I could be in, I had equally or more capacity to be in incredible states of ecstasy and love. Energy is energy. It was just, I had to learn how to redirect it. So as we go into the energy today, okay, we're moving, just feel shifting going on in your being. You don't even have to really direct it. It's just like that's why we go into these, is because every time we go in, I'm taking you into your heart, into your soul, and we're expanding that energy. We're opening that up a little bit more, week by week, so that at some point there's a tipping point. You have a lot more love and passion going on than you have anger and fear, and it's just like just shifting the equation, okay, from one, you know, it's almost like figure eight of working out of a base of fear, and then you're starting to shift it into a base of love and passion and creativity. That's what we're being challenged with now. This is the wake-up call that's happening on our earth. And people will either hear that or they won't.
Right.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, let's pull them into some energy.
All righty. So I'd like everybody to go into their core. What I mean by that is go into your center, into your heart, into your solar plexus. Just feel yourself going inward. Okay, and we're going to create a pyramid of light, a radiant pyramid of beautiful plasma light. Plasma light comes from the central sun. And so we're going to create 13 of these pyramids stacked one on top of each other because we like the number 13. It's a very powerful esoteric number. And at the base of the pyramid are 3 circles of light of 13 mama dragons, 13 13-pointed stars, and 13 dream weavers. And I'd like you to feel a beautiful radiant plasma light coming into your toes, your arches, your heels, feeling that energy moving up your spine, up your legs, into your spine. Feel it moving from your hips into the base of your spine. And we want to place a central sun at the base of the spine. Really want you to feel the power at the base of your spine, just a radiant sun. Just feel that energy building. And we're going to move that energy up the spine. We're going to come to the heart center. And so as we go into the heart, we're going to place another central sun. And I want you to also, as you do that, feel, if you have children, feel the love you have for your children. Hopefully you love them. Some people, well, never mind. Let's go into the heart, into a mother's love, into that energy. And so as we're going into that energy, we also want to connect in to the energy of the Divine Mother and Mama Bear. So we're really not only connecting into your heart center, but we're connecting to the earth now. We're connecting into the mother, placing a radiant sun there, and feeling the radiance of that. And let's take a moment to honor the earth, because honestly, if we don't take care of her and honor her, none of us will be here. So we really want to place that energy and love in the heart. And feeling that central sun, and we're going to continue that light up our spines. Feel that light flowing into your shoulders, your upper arms, your lower arms, your hands, your fingers. I want you to feel a central sun in your palms and your fingertips. And just feel, as you're feeling that energy in the palm and the fingertips, feel that how you use your hands in your creative endeavors and everything you do, and really honoring the creativity comes from your palms and your fingers. So we're going to go back to the brain stem. We're going to place the central sun in the brain stem. And what I want to do is we're going to create a figure 8 of energy from the brain stem through the heart to the energy at the base of the spine, where we placed another central sun. So kind of a figure 8 from the base of the spine through the heart to the brain stem and back. And that's going to be a recirculating energy that's going to just continue. And we're going to go back to the brain stem. And I want you to feel the energy at the brain stem. We're going to activate your thymus, your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your pineal glands. And the pineal gland is in the center of the brain. And that is, the pineal gland is kind of the gateway into other dimensions. So that's where you open up into holographic and multidimensional consciousness, also opening up into connection into the multiverse and connecting into the galactic levels. And so we want to place a central sun in the center of your brain. And let's just feel the radiance and luminosity as a whole, all the neurotransmitters start switching on, really feeling everything becoming illumined, feeling light, tremendous light starting to come into the brain. And feeling that luminosity. I'm going to have you now, we're going to spiral out your third eye, out the crown, out your crown, and out the apex of the pyramid. We're going to start traveling through the Galactic Corridor as plasma light in form. So at this point, you're traveling as light in form, traveling through this Galactic Corridor of radiant spiral light. As you're traveling through that corridor of spiral light, I want you to feel the plasma that is the central sun merging with the plasma of your blood. And feeling that the radiance of that light activating all the blood crystals. Feel your whole pulmonary system just be coursing with this radiant, vibrant plasma light. Feeling all the atoms, the molecules of your body just like starting to morph into light, feeling yourself as luminous light. And we're going to travel through this galactic corridor, through a galactic gateway, through the initiative, and we're going to come to this beautiful kaleidoscope of fractal light. And as we start to be called into the center of this kaleidoscope of fractal or prismatic light, feel yourself just moving as radiant energy. Now you into those fractals of light, and I want you to take your energy, your emotions, your thought forms, and feel yourself just traveling through these fractals of light in this kaleidoscope, feeling those fractals of light purifying and cleansing and clearing any distortion, any negativity, any chaos. Feel your entire energy field just being transformed, refreshed, upgraded, and we're traveling through this kaleidoscope. I want you to really notice at the very center of this kaleidoscope, this spiraling in a clockwise direction, that there's an oculus, or an all-seeing eye, a radiant eye, and feel yourself being drawn right into and through that eye. And as we go through that eye, we're going to now travel into a radiant central sun. So now you're in this radiant sun. And this radiant sun in the very center, it doesn't burn, it's just radiant light. And feel your entire body just filled with this radiant and luminous light. The most beautiful light that you've ever experienced. Feel the quality of it, feel the energy of it. Feel the love, feel that your heart connecting you into this light. And feel yourself in a process of metamorphosis. So as the caterpillar goes through the process from the caterpillar to the butterfly, it's in a state of metamorphosis. And as it goes through this process of transformation, that literally the caterpillar starts to dissolve into this liquid gelatinous substance. And in that process of metamorphosis, eventually comes the butterfly. And as the butterfly starts to awaken, it starts to move its wings, it starts to come into this whole new presence and being. And so today we're really calling forth the opportunity to go through that metamorphosis, through that transformation. And realize that the journey that we're on this earth plane is that of metamorphosis, that we're literally being dissolved in old and birthed anew by these forces of the light, these forces of intelligence. And I think of some of us really move into the soul memory. And the soul is really that part of you that has lived many lifetimes, had many experiences, probably in many dimensions, that starts to remember, starts to reconnect. And perhaps the reason that you're here on Earth is you actually came from a fairly advanced level of awareness. And some of you are very advanced souls that agreed to come to Earth to take on a body, physical body, and bring forth the light as that starts to reconnect and you start to remember that. That's part of the opportunity that we're in right now, is to start to reconnect and remember and go through the metamorphosis. So what I would like to call the energy that's going on now on the planet is that of metamorphosis, from the caterpillar to the butterfly. And as we accelerate this energy, we really want to be accelerating the energy, moving out of the fear. And as you become more and more experienced at moving into these levels of light, level of love, you start to deconstruct all the fear that's in your field. And that literally becomes, as that is deconstructed, you start to open your heart and ultimately your soul in really significant ways to where you have a greater and greater capacity to hold tremendous forces of light and tremendous forces of love. But that is your true nature. That is your true being. So I'm going to just now go into silence as we work with this energy. And if you want to continue to advance into these higher levels of love and higher levels of light and go through this metamorphosis, all you have to do is say yes to it. What you're doing is saying yes to yourself. Saying yes to, it's time for me to awaken into a much more evolved level of my being. And I want to begin my journey. And I'm not sure how to do that, but I will say yes to it. And your inner being will respond to you in a very significant way that will lead you into this process of awakening.
How are we doing? Oh, it feels so good, the energy. I hope you guys can feel it because I know I can. Good stuff. Way to start out our Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that I would ask is that we want to help many, many people who are in this space. So if you can share this and like it, it helps us to bring more people to a place of peace and prosperity and living the life that they really truly desire. And we can do that with your guys' help in sharing this, if you would please. And it helps it pop up in more people's inboxes, if you will. So, and again, if you need some one-on-one work with David, you can go to michaelglardy.com. I put it right there in his screenshot. You can see. As well as juliemurphy.com. We have lots of tools and resources. Tomorrow we're doing Awaken Your Work Life. Thursday we do Awaken Your Relationships, and stay tuned because I know we're going to get started in doing Awakening Your Health again with some new guests. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day thus far, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.